If you've ever wondered what the shart of the deal would look like, this is a great example. I talked about before how Donald Trump's adventure into the Middle East and the unprovoked attacks on Iran was just a sign of the US being a complete paper tiger. You can check out the full episode here. And I also predicted that this was going to be a complete disaster as far as military interventions go. And now that we see that a draft memorandum of understanding has been reached, according to multiple sources, between the US and Iran, the only conclusion that we can come to is that this is a complete capitulation and surrender by the Trump regime. Let's understand how foolish this action was in the first place. The Trump regime, led by the diapered orange dementia patient, thought it was a good idea to attack Iran unprovoked and only based on information that was given to them by Bibi Netanyahu of Israel. Now, let's keep in mind that both Trump and Netanyahu, the only reason that they ran for office and are in power is to keep themselves out of prison. And the longer that they can prolong conflicts around the world, the better off they're going to be. Now that we are in month 3 of this foreign excursion, as the diapered orange dementia patient likes to call it, we are starting to learn that the American public has zero tolerance for this. And more importantly, the regime doesn't have a stomach for it because, just like everything else, they're fully incompetent and had no plan going in, no plan to win, and no plan to exit. So now what they are doing is completely surrendering. When you look at the elements of the Memorandum of Understanding, the only thing that you can call it is complete surrender. So here's what the articles include regarding the Strait of Hormuz. Iran immediately reopens the Strait of Hormuz to all commercial vessels, while the U.S. lifts its naval blockade on Iranian ports. The lifting of the U.S. blockade would begin immediately after the memorandum is signed and would be completed within 30 days. Those who know geopolitics predicted and warned that an attack on Iran would result in the shutting down of the Strait of Hormuz. But the geniuses in charge of this regime paid no mind to those advisors and did it anyways. And when the obvious consequences were realized, they were caught flat-footed. But the terms of surrender, which is what we should call this going forward, don't stop with the Strait of Hormuz. From a financial perspective, Iran is demanding that the U.S. agrees not to impose any new sanctions on Iran until a final deal is reached. They also demand that following a final agreement, all U.S. and UN sanctions on Iran would be lifted according to an agreed timetable. The U.S. will waive all oil sanctions on Iran for a specified period, allowing for Tehran to sell oil and receive revenue. The U.S. agrees to release $25 billion of Iran's frozen assets, including via direct cash transfers, cooperation amongst regional countries, and financial credit lines. Iran also demands that Washington, in coordination with its regional allies, would prepare a reconstruction and development plan for Iran to be negotiated and agreed with Tehran within 60 days. This is not a memorandum of understanding. As I've said before, these are terms of surrender. Iran is dictating to the U.S. the terms for the cessation of hostilities and what the U.S. needs to pay in reparations. Let's understand the dynamics of all of this. All of these demands are being met in an environment where the U.S. has deliberately decided to cut services everywhere and anywhere that they could find it so that they could pay off their billionaire oligarchs. And on top of that, they've spent countless billions of dollars in the military engagement overall. And now you're looking at a massive financial payout that the American taxpayer is on the hook for because of this collection of drooling inbred morons and sex offenders that are occupying 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. There is no better argument that every single one of these people in charge, as a result of this surrender, should be arrested and handed over to the Hague and be tried for war crimes. That is what happens to rogue leaders of regimes that conduct war crimes and crimes against humanity. The Trump regime should meet the same sort of outcome as the regime of Slobodan Milosevic and any other dictator that decided to indiscriminately bomb other countries in an effort to expand their borders. Now, if you thought all of that was bad enough, the terms of surrender as issued and demanded by Iran go even further. From a nuclear perspective, Tehran agrees that it will either produce nor acquire nuclear weapons, and pending the final agreement, Iran would maintain the current status of its nuclear program, refraining from further uranium enrichment and expansion of nuclear facilities. The United States agrees to allow Iran to dilute its stockpile of highly enriched uranium on Iranian soil under a future comprehensive agreement. Iran's nuclear program, uranium enrichment activities, and mechanisms for handling its stockpile of highly enriched uranium would be negotiated within 60 days of the memorandum being finalized. So let's understand the root cause of all of this. The whole reason that we are here is because this barely literate orange moron couldn't stand the fact that a black man negotiated an agreement that largely put Iran under control and started the process of normalizing relations with Iran and bringing them back into the fold. And the fact that a black man was able to accomplish this was the only reason that Trump, during his first term, tore up the agreement in the first place. He thought it was a bad agreement, and just like every other thing that he does, he destroys things without having a plan in place, and when things become a complete disaster, he cobbles together some sort of loose framework and calls it a victory. He is the definition, and this regime is the definition of playing chess with pigeons. A pigeon is going to walk all over the chessboard, crap everywhere, and walk off pretending that they've won. That's exactly what's happening here. The entire reason we are here is because this man decided that he could do better with having no plan in place. There can be no argument that we are much worse off now than we were before he took power. And this is just one of many examples of the rank incompetence that exists within this regime. All of this points back to what Kamala Harris warned us about during the race.
Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you. To also be clear, if this president is thinking about putting us in a position where we're in a war with Iran, the consequences will be absolutely unacceptable and tragic in terms of the young men and women who are American soldiers who would be sent and deployed into something that was completely avoidable.
Every single thing that Kamala Harris predicted was going to happen has happened. The whole reason we are in the middle of this debacle is because this orange moron was manipulated by Bibi Netanyahu, who for 40 years tried to convince U.S. presidents of both parties to enter into the Iranian theater.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, the preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the rich uranium for an atom bomb. Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade. Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
The only person dumb enough to believe what Netanyahu was selling was this moron that's in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And now he's in a war that he can't get out of, so he is surrendering. This is the ultimate taco maneuver. This is what we call the shart of the deal. This is what we expect from someone who's been bankrupt more times than your average businessman. We are getting exactly what we deserve. We are here because 90 million people couldn't be bothered to get off their couches to vote, and 77 million people are too stupid to understand that they've been manipulated. Even with 50 years of experience that tells us that anytime a Republican is in charge, they're going to wage war, and they're going to tank the economy, and they're going to gut the middle class. For some reason, the American people can't seem to connect those dots. And it's that failure to connect those dots that's led us to this moment. A moment where we have been thoroughly defeated and embarrassed, and we're on an island by ourselves because we refused to listen to those who actually know better. We are getting exactly what we voted for.